People are going to be like, oh, no, not Amanda again.
I don't know. Be like, that girl.
Oh, she is just unbearable.
Her enthusiasm's a little annoying sometimes, let's be honest.
Welcome to the Unitarian Christian Alliance podcast, episode 49, The Eventgelist, with return guest Amanda Dunn. I'm Mark Kane. If you've not yet been introduced to Amanda, then you have missed some very excellent stories and storytelling. Episode 33, My Trinitarian Best Friend, and episode 34, My Homeschooling Nail-Biter, are now officially on your list. And I'm serious, really. After the interview, I have a few notes to share and an audio clip from Matthew in Georgia. I realized recently that I've not had quite as many sound effects as I did in some of my earlier episodes. I feel very sorry about this. I've not been minding my scripture. 1 Corinthians 13:1, If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but I do not strike a noisy gong, I am only... I need to check that verse again. But still, I feel I have been derelict in the fulfillment of my sound responsibilities, and I shall make it up to you now with a gathering of past sounds in under 15 seconds. Oh, that's a weight lifted off my back. Naturally, the UCA is happy to offer a public listing for UCA-friendly events around the world. Having Amanda as the coordinator has been delightful, and for good reason. She gets it. She has felt the sting and the isolation born of her Unitarian belief that the only true God is the Father, and that Jesus is his Messiah. For Amanda, taking on this role, it was more than just something to do. Amanda, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Now, you're back now not simply as a guest. You're back because you have a responsibility. You've got a job.
I have a job title.
Yes.
This has gotten very serious and important very quickly.
We haven't shipped you the business cards yet. You will get a box of about 1,000. Okay.
And a badge, right? I'm getting a name badge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like a uniform?
I mean, that'd be great. Yes.
Okay.
If there is a standard UCA uniform, I would like it issued to me.
So, Amanda Dunn has volunteered to help us with our events page. I wanted to get events out in front of people's faces, and I was talking about it for, it seems like months on the podcast. And then we finally did it. Amanda, I would like to hear your perspective on what we are achieving by having this list there. Describe it and tell me what you think about it.
Well, aside from promoting, a one God belief, another big part of the UCA's purpose and value is in connecting one God believers. Mm-hmm. One of the most valuable ways that we can do that is to provide actual realistic ways for people to gather physically in person together. And that's not always available. A lot of us out there, me included, we don't have a local church that we can attend. Even when I get on the UCA webpage and look for other believers, we're spread out hundreds of miles apart. So having special events that we can attend and plan to attend is of great value to me. And I think it's of great value to other one God believers.
Yeah.
The idea is there are already these events happening, whether it's through existing organizations and churches or whether it's individuals who just have a heart to host and bring people together. They're happening, but a lot of the time they happen without the knowledge of many people who would love to be there. For example, I found out about Converge too late, and I'm so bummed. But I would have loved to know about it because I definitely would have been there. You know me, I'm a joiner. I would have been buying my plane ticket, showing up with bells on. So if I just would have known. And so I think that's the idea. The idea is if we can get the word out there in one easy to find format, then maybe more people will be able to join in. And I encourage people to do so.
Yeah. When you volunteered, I wasn't exactly surprised. As a reminder for those who didn't listen to episodes 34 and 35, Amanda lives in Idaho. So it is not hard in Idaho to be spread all over creation. You probably felt this deeper than some people do.
I absolutely did. And when you were looking for someone to help with getting events out there, I threw my hand in the air for two reasons. One, like I said, I'm a joiner. I'm a chronic volunteer. But also, I see the value in it. And what I can bring to the UCA community is not that of an academic, but I feel like I represent the vast majority of the UCA membership, which is everyday believers who want to grow in my faith. I want to grow in my knowledge of the Bible, and I especially want to grow in my relationship with other people. I believe that lack of that is often cause for stumbling and failure in believers' lives. We need the support of each other. I think events are a wonderful way to do that. The purpose is not the event itself, it's the relationships that we build at those events. For example, I went to the UCA conference in October, and, I'm the oddball who's perfectly happy to get on a plane and fly across the country to hang out with 200 people she's never met before. And it was a fantastic decision. I made so many new friends there that the friendships have continued. I have regular phone calls and email or text conversations with these people. And I don't get to live everyday life with them, but I do get to grow with them. And I think for me, if I'm trying to keep a kingdom mindset, there is going to come a day when we are together.
Yeah.
I'm building friendships that will last eternity. And I think that is an incredible thing to do.
Yeah. Let's veer a little bit to society. The internet, the connectivity we have through social media and all this connects people in large clumps, but they're not the kind of clumps that I think are healthy. Like, I don't want to feel like I belong to a group of 2 million people who think X, and I know them because I saw that many likes on a YouTube video.
Absolutely.
That's not the kind of group that will ground me and make me truly satisfied as a human. That's not the way we were designed.
Well, I think we live in a culture of shortcuts. Some of those shortcuts are fabulous. I am thankful. Just a couple days ago, I was able to connect with someone via Facebook, which is a shortcut, essentially, that I would never have met. So I am thankful for that. However, I think that we get spoiled and we want to shortcut everything. Even with the UCA, we could make this mistake of saying, well, believing that we're somehow deeply connected to this group of people over this one common belief, and that's it. The work is done. The problem with that is we are only as strong as our individual relationships. As I've gotten to know you, Mark, or other people through, it could be a conversation on Facebook that sparks it, but then making that decision, hey, could we have a phone call? I would really like to know you better, apart from our common doctrine, apart from the things that we look at that maybe it seems we have in common in life. I know that you're an individual who is loved by my Lord. And therefore, I would like to know who you are. And I would like to love you for you, not just because we have something in common. And that takes relationship. And relationship takes an investment of at least time and energy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes an investment of money. My family kind of thinks I'm crazy with all of my constant investment in trying to find this community.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the most incredible thing happened yesterday. My little sister, I was talking about the upcoming 20s and 30s conference and that I'm going and how excited I am. And she listened. And then about a half an hour later, she said, hey, is anybody allowed to go to that conference? And my heart just lit up. My sister wants to go with me. I'm so excited about that. And it's because she's seeing, oh my gosh, there are real, authentic friendships coming out of this. It's not the wounds we expect, right? It's not that there couldn't ever be a wound, but I believe that if I can build authentic friendships, authentic relationships with my siblings in Christ, then it is worth the investment of time and energy and money. It is worth the inherent risk that comes with building new relationships.
Yeah. In a lack of authenticity, we're sort of like ships without rudders. We're
Yes.
out in the ocean being blown whichever direction the wind goes. When I see millions of people shifting on a dime for whatever cause, whatever thing is going on, and they just all seem to get behind it, I just from a step back point of view, is like, why? What is that power that exists? Like, how hard would it be for some very charismatic person to step up and say, I have some solution to some problem that, guess what, you all have.
Right.
And then everybody's like, yes, I'm in your boat now. And they just shift to the next thing, shift to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have lost the anchor of relationships with connections to real people and time spent getting deep into their lives and then having love, confession, like I'm struggling with this, those kinds of things, so much deeper than what you get on the internet, that it is a form of protection against whatever the next big thing is, because the next big thing may be really bad.
Right.
And the counter to that is what you just described, the narrower, closer, and incredibly deeper relationships with real people.
Yes. If we are individually willing to invest that way, out of those relationships come a larger group, right? I think it's intriguing because, for example, what the UCA is endeavoring to do in helping to facilitate community, it can only do so much. It will be the membership that really brings the deepest value to this movement. Despite past wounds, despite concerns, despite a lot going on in my everyday life, I will find the time. Maybe it's just one event that someone attends and they meet a few people that they begin to pray for and keep in contact with. But you know what? That is enough, to follow your analogy. That's enough to start to build that rudder.
Yeah.
I know this from my life, and anybody that heard my story in your previous podcast, they heard that when I tried to navigate my walk alone, I was quickly blown off course. I could not do it on my own. And we are told that. We're told not to give up meeting together for a reason, because Jesus also knew that we would have trouble and we would need each other. And so that's why, events are fun. I know that in past communities that I've been in, both military or civic, there's always this idea that the person planning the events should plan those events because she's really good at centerpieces and invitation graphics. And I can tell you honestly, I am terrible at all of those things. That is not my area of strength. But the reason that I am passionate about helping with events is I have been a beneficiary of the relationships, the unexpected new friendships that come from events that bring people together. And that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Well, that's why you were a good choice for this. We didn't choose you. Okay. I'm just a little behind the scenes. I'm going to peel back the curtain. When us UCA folks were talking about, let's do this, I was like, guys, I'm not going to have time to think about this. Well, we need a volunteer. Somebody actually said, I think Amanda would do fantastic. I said, well, I'm not going to say that to her. We're going to just put the call out because if she's busy, I don't want her to feel obligated to volunteer. The same day that the episode came out, I got a note from you. I volunteer.
It's true. I was very excited about this.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's probably someone out there that's far more qualified than me. I am learning as I go. Can I just confess how proud of myself I was when I edited in the HTML format the first time to get the bullet point to go away on the webpage? I am not qualified, but I am passionate and I will show up and do my best.
That's right.
So thanks for hiring me for this purely volunteer position.
Okay. We gave your position a title, I think. What did we call it?
I don't actually technically know.
Okay.
I am the person who receives news of new events, does a little happy dance by myself, and then translates that information into a short little blurb on the website. However, I have sort of extended my own responsibilities in a small way.
Okay.
I had a phone call with someone who's planning a very exciting and fun and family-friendly event. She just had certain areas where she's a little intimidated.
Mm.
How do I make an online invitation for RSVPs? And I said, hey, I actually know how to do this. So I will help you. So if you're thinking of hosting a regional UCA barbecue, but you're thinking, I don't know how to make an Eventbrite invitation, well, that is one of my few skills. I can do that and I will help you.
So an Eventbrite invitation. Explain that.
Oh, well, Eventbrite is this fun website that, as long as your event is free, doesn't charge you any money to use it. And it's like a step up from Evite.
Mm.
So you can get in there and you can create a registration page that will collect any matrix of information that you want to collect. And it will also create reports for you. I mean, how many children are coming, how many vegetarians there are going to be, things like that. That's really handy. So you don't have to do all that by hand.
Hmm.
And as I said, I do have a little experience with that. And so I'm always happy to help. If there's a logistical challenge in getting your event set up, let me know. I'll help however I can.
If you're doing just a barbecue and you're like, well, do I need a registration? Well, if you're going to suggest the event to the broader UCA community, you might actually have people thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be in vacation in Ohio that month. Oh, I could actually go. They're going to want to just let you know. So they're going to be emailing you, and then you're going to have to get the email, write it down. It's like, okay, Bob is coming. You're going to have to build a list one way or the other just so that you can plan. I don't know what the outcome will be of having some of these events publicly talked about, but I know it will be more people than would have otherwise come. Whether that's 5% more, 20% more, I don't know. But that's why we're doing this.
Right. It's really helpful to just have a web page that someone can click on, but it's not like you have to go build a web page or create a new Facebook page or anything like that. I think you could also do it through Facebook events. It's just that maybe not all listeners have Facebook.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an Eventbrite account to register for an Eventbrite event.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of other options as well. I'm just more versed in Eventbrite.
Yeah.
But I just say that as an encouragement. If you are intimidated by that side of hosting a local or regional event, I will help you however I can. And I know that lots of other UCA members that are probably even more skilled than me would be happy to help too. So I can always connect you that way.
No, I think that's good. Tools and resources, excellent. This is one of our jobs here.
So one thing I will say, I'm not sure if you're going to go here or not.
Let's go there.
Okay, let's go there. So far, I think we have 7-ish events up already just in the last couple of weeks. These are church-hosted events, which is awesome. I am super excited about each one of the events on there. And if I'm completely transparent, I would love to buy plane tickets and attend every single one. My husband knows it. He was a little nervous about this being an outcome. So I keep myself realistic about what is and isn't possible, except for maybe the men's event. That would be awkward. Having said that, I am excited to see a couple events that will be posted pretty soon that are not large-scale church-hosted events. An event that I'll be hosting included just me opening my home or another gal saying, hey, let's meet at this really fun landmark. So you don't have to be official. You don't have to have some title that empowers you to plan events. You can just say, hey, I'm hosting dinner at my house for anyone in this tri-state area that would like to attend.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as that. I think those will maybe be some of the most beautiful and intimate events that we get to share.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to someone yesterday by text whose number I got at the UCA conference and said, I have this crazy idea I'm thinking of hosting. I know it'd be a long drive, no pressure. And her immediate response was, we'll be there. And it just melted my heart. I was so excited about that. So I am thankful and encouraged that I'm not the only one who values these relationships.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I agree. The time it takes to set up an Eventbrite page just to keep track of who might be coming is not very long.
No, you could do it in easily less than 10 minutes.
And that link would be what we would stick right in the UCA events listing.
Yes.
So somebody scrolling through there says, oh, wow, wait, I'm available that weekend. Click, and they're on. It doesn't require back and forth phone calls. So anyway, the point is these smaller types of things are actually easier than some of us may think. You could even meet at a restaurant that has one of those back rooms.
Yes.
Like you could fit 30 people in the back room. And all you've done is to say, this day, this restaurant, you called the restaurant, we're reserving that room, put something up for people to sign up and come. You're not tracking money, you're not tracking reservations, and you're just simply saying, we're going to meet for dinner. And if you're in the area, join us. It could be that simple.
Absolutely. I think you're completely right.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things that people ask themselves is, will anyone come? And I had to have this conversation with myself. And so I will just humbly tell you what I feel like God showed me. And that is not your concern or your job. If God is nudging you to open up your home or your heart or just your calendar with a date at a restaurant to make available an opportunity to build relationships, then just do that and respond and be obedient. And then the rest is not your concern. And that's the beauty of it. A second concern is, can I handle the logistics? Will I be overwhelmed? A third concern is, how will I tell everyone? And that's exactly what the UCA events page is for, right?
Yes, right.
We have this solution. I think another one that people might face is, am I qualified? Who am I? And I am constantly encouraged when I read the Bible. I am a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooling mom. I don't have any job titles or qualifications that make me feel important, but so very frequently, I find myself identifying with people just like myself in the Bible who God chose to use to bring people together or to speak his truth to someone who needed to hear it. And so, yes, we are qualified. So being in Idaho and being fairly isolated, a couple months ago on a Sunday is where we attend a pretty standard evangelical church here for the benefit of our children who we know need fellowship with other believers their age. I was feeling a little discouraged at the sermon and aching for some of that more authentic, deeper discussion that tends to happen inside of the UCA membership. And I looked at my husband and I said, just in case you're thinking of planning a weekend away, I don't want to go to Aruba. Take me on romantic weekend getaways to biblical Unitarian churches. His eyes got really big. I think he thought I was kidding, and then he realized I was serious, and then he just nodded slowly, like, okay, that's what we'll do. And I said, it will be wonderful. How fun would it be? How fun would it be? And it sounds like a crazy thing to do. Even as I was looking at the map around Idaho and looking at, okay, so there's some believers up in Spokane. There's a few Christians in Montana. There's, a couple people in Wyoming and some people in Salt Lake. I want to host events that they can come to. And I also thought, how fun would it be to road trip, and see these people? And I was a little bit inspired, Mark, by you, because you've incorporated some of that into some of your road trips to make stops and see people and spend time with people. And, as self-proclaimed reformationists, as some of us are, I can't help but notice that this feels and looks a lot like the first century church, a lot like people who traveled through much more difficult conditions to see each other, first to evangelize, but then they had relationships with people in these distant places who they loved dearly, who they could only send letters to by sending a messenger with this letter, right?
Yeah.
And when they decided that they were going to travel, that meant all kinds of hardships and risks that I do not face in my air-conditioned car. So it just kind of hit me this week. What is my excuse for not making the effort?
Yeah.
I have kind of spent some time in the past couple of years wallowing in lonely self-pity. I'm thankful that I prayed to God about that because it allowed him space to begin to work in my heart to show me really what is available and to ask me, well, are you willing? Are you willing to open up your home and post an event on this website and just welcome whoever comes? Because there's also who's going to show up.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. Some of us have past experiences with types of personalities that we're a little intimidated to handle again. And so we can guard. But this is the family of God. And these are people that I look forward to spending an eternity with. And so I don't want personality types or differing backgrounds or fear of, can I cross this cultural gap even, to get in the way of celebrating what we have to celebrate together.
Yeah.
One more concern some people might feel as they think, could I host or even could I attend this event I found on the UCA website, is how am I going to navigate these differences of doctrine that I do have? We have this one doctrine in common, but this is an eclectic group of people.
Yeah.
And so I know that for myself, as I thought about hosting something, I immediately started to feel bogged down in, how am I going to respect and honor everybody who might come? How am I not going to fumble over myself? So I just encourage everyone to approach both planning and attending with an enormous amount of grace, and knowing that we are called to walk in truth and grace. And it's both.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when, if I meet someone and I'm building a relationship with them and it sounds like we have a difference of doctrine and something that's really important to me, God is showing me that I am not compromising my belief by being willing to listen empathetically to where they are, or to be respectful of where they are right now. That's grace.
Yeah.
If I'm at an event and someone expresses a viewpoint, I don't think God is going to be insulted or judge me if I consult with him in internal prayer and decide that this isn't the moment to have that conversation. And I also want to clarify, I'm not saying that there are not those moments. I love that we are in a community that does the work of thinking through and debating through these concerns. But I also know that there was an and. It's truth and grace.
Mm-hmm.
I know how much more likely I am to deeply listen to a sincere, I don't know, whether it be an admonishment or petition over a doctrine from someone that I already have a relationship with. If I know they love me and care about me, I'm going to be a lot more interested in what they have to say. If I feel like I am being recruited to support their own doctrines and make them feel more confident, then I might feel used. And so I guess I'm just saying, it's okay to say, well, I have this set of beliefs, but I'm going to make room in my home and my heart at this event for the fact that other people might come with some other beliefs. And I'm going to put that at the feet of my Lord, and I'm going to ask him to work there.
Yeah. There's an advantage to a UCA event. We know that people will have differences, so we can do that step you just described. Being surprised is never as an effective of a way to deal with a situation as knowing ahead of time. And these are exactly the situations where you can know ahead of time very well could be a difference on doctrine A or B or C.
Yep.
I think that's why, when people went to the UCA conference, several people had said, the kinds of conversations was just a lot of questions and listening. People weren't bickering about who was right.
No.
I say it's because we already knew this is going to be a place where you show up and there's going to be people who see things differently than you, and you're going to get to meet them. And then you're like, oh, well, then I want to make sure I ask one of the Christadelphians about the personality of Satan. Ooh, I want to go talk to so-and-so about tongues.
Yes.
I may hear something that I've never heard before, and it'll give me a chance to think about what I have never really thought before. And you just show up expecting that. It changes the whole dynamic.
Absolutely.
So.
I think in the same way that some of us tend to fall into this mindset that, well, first I just need to get my life together and then I'll strike up a conversation with God. Right?
Yeah.
I think that we know that doesn't work. We know that God meets us right where we are. That is the work that Jesus Christ did. So it's the same. It's the same in the body of Christ. We don't need to debate and argue until we finally reconcile everything. And finally, I mean, it's almost comical to think about that we could believe that we could argue long enough that then we would finally all agree. And then we'll set about the business of loving each other. What? And in fact, God inspired Paul to write words about this in Ephesians that said, we are first to rely on unity of spirit until we can arrive at the unity of faith. And to me, I hear that as God saying, value the family bond that I have created within all people who make Jesus Christ their Lord. And then trust me as you do your work together that I will bring about the truth in time. We can't all come to an agreement right now about what the truth is, but we can all choose to love each other the way Christ loved us. That is what's available. So that's what I'm going to do first. And I just want to emphasize that doesn't mean that the truth doesn't matter. It matters so much to me. But I feel that it is obedient to lean into the love while we wait for the final word on the truth.
That's a reasonable approach. And I think that kind of mindset will make your event not so awkward.
I hope so.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time today. And I thought this might have been just a snippet we stick at the end and say, hey, we are doing events. But I'm perfectly fine with it being long enough for an entire episode. I want people to get it and to feel it deeply, like this is something I really can do. And we'll look back in a year and be like, wow, it was so worth it. It made such a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. I think so too.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a title for Amanda, and we aren't printing 1,000 business cards. That was a joke. She is the UCA event coordinator, not to be confused with the UCA conference coordinator who helps plan the annual conference, which, as long as I'm on the subject, is being planned now. It will be this fall, and quite possibly in October like it was last year, but the date depends on the availability of the venue. There will be several details announced in the coming weeks, including the date and location, as well as instructions for paper submissions. Kevin George from episode 13, An Absolute Distrust of Unitarians, and episode 14, An Astounding Disappointment in Experts, responded to last week's interview with Nathan Moon, episode 48. That was a great episode. I could relate to a lot of what Nathan had to say, having been part of the IFB movement and very passionate in my 20s. Several events, somewhat similar to Nathan's, exposed the great hypocrisy of the leadership and how they have little respect for anyone asking questions or digging for truth. I hope he continues his journey. Thank you, Kevin. Your story and his are a potent mix. Laura from Missouri also wrote about Nathan's interview. It was quite an interesting perspective to hear. The thing I found most interesting was that he actually hated people who didn't believe like him and thought he was supposed to do that. I have heard of groups like this, but I still found it shocking. I'm so glad he turned his heart toward loving those he disagreed with. Thank you, Laura. It isn't like that was a highlight of his journey. It was a mistake and one that could have cut him off from his family for good. And Nathan was willing to talk about it. That can be hard. Admitting to making poor choices, it's easier to just hide those details away and pretend all is well. So thank you again, Nathan. Much of the content for this show is birthed from the communications I have with you. You can write to me, podcast@UnitarianChristianAlliance.org, or you can talk at me. Click record in the show notes or record yourself and email it. April has events in New York and Idaho. May has one in Kentucky. June has events in Kentucky, New York, and Indiana. July has one in Illinois. And September has one in New York. Visit UnitarianChristianAlliance.org/events to see all the details and get signed up. I'm taking the next week off because of traveling. But if you get the email newsletter, you may still get a little something to hold you over. You can sign up on the podcast page, podcast.unitarianchristianalliance.org, or use the link in the show notes. You simply put your first name and email. It's as simple as I could make it.
This is Matthew from Georgia, United States, and I'm a biblical Unitarian. I started listening to this podcast in late 2021. It's just so encouraging. Mark, I appreciate your gentle spirit and cordial attitude, and it's refreshing to know that even though we are a minority compared to other branches of the Christian faith, there are other people out there who have studied the Bible and came to the same conclusion as myself. Thanks so much, and keep up the good work, buddy.
I love it, Matthew. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you soon. Amanda's efforts are going to make a difference. I know it. We are still working out some details, learning as we go, but please don't hesitate to reach out if you have something in the works that would be of value to the broader UCA community. There are instructions on the site. If you know someone who is thinking of hosting an event, or someone who has an event but hasn't realized that we're out here willing to help get the word out, tell them about this episode. It may be just what they needed. Amanda, it was great to have you back on the podcast, laughing with you, and now working with you regularly. I hope you do a lot of happy dances over the coming months. May God bless you in your truth pursuits. I hope this podcast serves you well.